So if you're anything like me, you might just have a favorite cologne and you'll stick to it. You'll rebuy it, and that's just the way it goes. But lately, I've been wanting to add some variety in some of the colognes that I have, especially for the spring season. So I wanted to share some of my wish list picks for this spring, and hopefully you can get some inspiration out of them. So before we dive into my list, first I wanted to show you what I have in my collection. Bad Boy, Gucci Guilty, Dylan Blue, got Coach, YSL. You get the point. They lean more towards the, the darker side. They're not necessarily fresh. Lately, I've been rotating Gentleman Givenchy, which has been my go-to fragrance, especially when I'm out in the office. Next, we have Chanel Blue, which I primarily save for night outs, going to the club, maybe going out to special events, and I think because it gives such a crazy aroma, it's the perfect night out scent. And the last one I've been rotating is Valentino, which has been my exclusive date night scent. I mean, it smells romantic and it gives me that vibe. So these are all great options. I think they smell great, they do the job, and they get it done. But lately, I've been wanting to educate myself more in the niche lane and kind of look into what's popular on that side. I've been getting a lot of designer colognes, and I know that's kind of a sin in the cologne world, but listen, I'm just a guy that likes to smell nice. When we get through this list, I'm going to start on the more, I say, designer cologne fragrances, and then we'll do some popular niche options. So the first cologne on my list, and this is, like I mentioned, a designer fragrance, is the Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Intense. A lot of people have described this one as a breath of fresh air. Some of the notes include lemon, green apple, and then a musky undertone, so I think it's a perfect segue between me, someone who usually goes the darker scent. Because for me, I feel like it balances the freshness of the citrus side, and then some of the dark, muskier undertones, which I'm sure comes from the intense variation of this one. I'm not sure why I never purchased this one, and especially because of how much praise it gets online. Everyone's talking about this cologne, and it seems like a fan favorite. So I think it's about time to give it a try, at least even a sample, just to test drive this thing. One quick tip, if you're thinking about purchasing this, I would recommend looking for the intense version and not just the regular light blue. Next up on the list is Prada's Luna Rosa Ocean, and I've heard so much about this cologne. I've even heard people say they wanted to gatekeep it because of how nice it smelled, and honestly, when I tried the sample myself, I couldn't believe how great it smelled. I'm wearing it right now just because I wanted to remind myself, and the best way to describe it is definitely fresh powderiness with a woody undertone. The reason why I love it so much is it's a blend between powdery freshness and woodiness, which is what I'm familiar with, as I've mentioned before. If you're someone that's looking for a blend between freshness and woodiness, I would definitely recommend that you purchase this one, especially for the spring. So this is a very solid list so far, but those were some of the more designer fragrance options, and now let's dive into more of those niche ones. And when I say niche, I say quotations because at this point these are so popular, almost anybody into fragrance knows these, but nonetheless, let's continue the list. Parfums de Marly Sedley is definitely something I've had in my radar, and the reason I chose this one is because it leans towards the freshier aquatic side, which, as I mentioned, is what I'm looking for right now, especially to offset what I already have. So what I heard, PDM went back to the drawing board with this one to work on its projection, and I'm sure that it shows because of the way that it's been talked about, especially in the fragrance community. It seems to be a staple, and it seems to still be purchased till this day. It's definitely something that I want on my list. So just to give you an idea of what this cologne smells like, I pulled the top notes right out from the website, and it says it's bergamot, spearmint, and a watery accord. Funny enough, the best time to wear section says during spring, summer, or for a day at the sea. So my friends, if you're a boater in the spring, summer, this is your cologne. Okay, I don't mean that literally, and that really wasn't planned, but hey, if the website says it, the people who make it say it, it must be true. So for this next fragrance, it has to be the most polarizing fragrance there is out there, especially for this specific one. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. Some people says it smells like nothing. Some people says it smells like magazine paper. And even some people say it's the best low-key fragrance they have. And if that doesn't give you a hint already, let me just name drop this. It's Le Labo Another 13. And the reason why I chose this is there have been times where I've wanted to smell like something, but I don't want to overpower anyone with what I'm smelling like. You know what I mean? Specifically, if I'm thinking about situations, I'm thinking about days where I'm going into the office or days where I'm doing things a little more in a professional setting where I don't have to worry about me sweating off cologne and smelling crazy With another 13, it seems like it's more of a clean, sophisticated scent. Might be slightly musky. To some, it smells like magazine paper. But from what I can gather, it's a great low-key cologne. And especially if you're someone who likes to mix, match, and layer fragrances, this might be a good option for you. It is a pricier option, and what I've been thinking, to test this theory out myself, is we have a Le Labo nearby in Boston, so I might just go out there, make it into a little video, and try some of the samplers that they have and buy like my 3 favorite ones. So if that's something you're interested in and want to see that video, feel free to subscribe, like the video, or tell me in the comments. So when I was making this list, I thought to myself, what would be the cherry on top? What's that one fragrance I need to have, always wanted in my collection, but never purchased? This one needs no introduction. It's Creed Aventus. I literally remember being in high school like, bro, one day I'm gonna own this fragrance. I know it's like $500, but I need this one day. And at the time, I was never gonna afford that. See, now that we're making some grown-up money, things might change. So the thing about this fragrance is I've heard mixed reviews. Some people say it's overpriced for what it is. Some people say it's a classic cologne. Everybody needs it in their collection. I wouldn't say it's quite polarizing like the Le Labo Another 13, but something tells me when there's a high price tag, people expect to be impressed. So that's where I think those bad reviews come from personally. So you tell me in the comments, do you think everyone needs this in their collection, or is this a staple that you think someone should consider buying? So a couple things to keep in mind about this cologne is it has a mix of pineapple, smoky birch, oakness, so it's a nice balance between having something that's going to be a bit more prominent, but also fresh at the same time, so it's perfect for that spring, summer, as I mentioned before. So the reason why I chose this fragrance was because it is one of those special occasion colognes. People say they feel like a boss when they wear this. People say it's got this magnetizing effect. I mean, overall, people are impressed with how this smells, and if you're interested in putting together a collection, this might be the cherry on top for you. So if you made it this far into the video, drop a little lemon emoji so I know you made it to the end. I mean, after all, it is in the spirit of all things citrus and freshness, right?